Okay, I can actually feel my brain cells dying. Oh, Count, there's not much I can guarantee in life, but I can promise you this one thing. You ain't the only one that feels that way. The Munsters was written, directed, produced, edited by, coffee made by, wife forced upon us by, once again, by Rob Zombie, the musician that started out in White Zombie and then went solo and dug through the ditches and burned through the witches and slammed in the back of his Dragula and then went on to be a filmmaker, making such controversial, divisive films as House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, 2007's Halloween, 2009's Halloween 2, Electric Michael Myers Boogaloo, with all the spoopy Michael Myers magic and weirdness and everything, and I don't understand what the fuck went on in both of those movies. But man, those two Halloween movies really pissed off some fans. I can't be too mad at them though, because they brought us Scout Taylor Compton, and that's a very good thing. So, the Munsters. If you're unfamiliar with the Munsters, here's a bit of a rundown. A bunch of monsters live in the American suburbs and just want to fit in. They want to be included, they want to appreciate people, and they want to be appreciated in return. That's pretty much it. It's a cult classic series that actually only ran for a couple seasons. I thought it ran longer, and while they've had attempts at revivals, this is a feature-length adaptation of a, well, let's be honest, some source material that worked best in a sitcom format, aka 22 to 25 minutes, depending on the amount of commercial breaks. And when you try to stretch that out into a feature-length film, it can have some, well, different results. It basically could either turn out at least entertaining, like the Addams Family movies were actually not all that bad, the ones with Raul Julia. Those are pretty goddamn good. That was an example of taking an intellectual property from a TV series and turning it into a feature-length adaptation. And while, no, it wasn't perfect, it captured the spoopy theme. And then there's like the Brady Bunch movies that captured the stupidity of them. But then there's also a bunch of other stuff that really didn't work out all that well. Leave your favorite and least favorite, TV series adaptations in the movies in the comments, please. And I have no affection one way or the other when it comes to the Munsters. I found it entertaining, but I was like, okay, I didn't necessarily ask for a feature-length adaptation. And I haven't been the biggest fan of Rob Zombie movies. In fact, I would argue the House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects were fucking terrible, in my personal opinion. I opened myself up to a flood of fucking comments. I was like, alright, this dropped on Netflix, so let me fucking watch it. Okay, there are two guarantees when it comes to Rob Zombie movies. Two fucking locks. He's going to make them the way he wants, and that's admirable. And he's going to put Sherry Moon Zombie, aka his wife, who didn't get her first acting role until she married Rob and then got into House of a Thousand Corpses. That was her first role. Gee, I wonder how she fucking got that role. Look, I'm sure she's nice, and I'm sure she can do other stuff outside of acting, but you know what she's not good at? Acting. She's always been fucking terrible, and this movie is a prime example of putting your wife on camera when she has no fucking business being on camera. Again, no fucking love or hatred or whatever, no attachment to the original source material, and I haven't even watched much of the Munsters in years, so I went in basically not totally blind. I was aware of how the characters acted, and this also turns out to be an origin story. It's about how Herman and Lily, Sherry Moon Zombie plays Lily, Donna Doomley. There are a lot of people playing dual characters. Why? Because, well, pretty much all the budget went to the set design and some of the costumes. Jeffrey Daniel Phillips plays Herman, Zombo, and Shecky von Rathbone. These are actual names, by the way, that were put on film. And you can tell that Rob Zombie did love the Munsters as a kid and probably still loves it even now. And he wanted to have this love letter, this labor of love, to a series that he loved when he was younger. That's fine. You know what it wasn't? It wasn't good. It was fucking terrible. It basically took any bit of humor that was from the original series and wrung it out and just drained it out and basically just threw a goddamn dry sponge at the viewer constantly. And then wetted that sponge, but it was all moldy by this point and kept throwing the sponge at people and saying, you're going to watch this, you're going to watch this, you're going to watch this. And the viewers eventually got fucking frustrated and just said, okay, we're going to sit through this till the end, but we're not going to enjoy it. This would have been a lot better had they not made a feature-length adaptation, but made it like a 10-episode series. And he could have fleshed this shit out more. And it might have worked in that format. As far as a feature-length adaptation of a series that has cult classic status, but only lasted for 2 fucking seasons, this is excruciating. This is really fucking bad. There are little Easter eggs, Universal Monster movie stuff, and whatever. And everybody seems to be trying to have fun with this. Every single joke lands with a resounding thud in a pit of snakes. And it gets eaten and devoured and then spat back up. And then, oh, wow, that joke really wasn't that funny before it fell in that pit of snakes. And now, wow, I'm expected to laugh at that joke despite the fact it's covered in venom and shit and piss and dead skin and everything. And that's pretty much what this film is. Covered in shit, piss, venom, and dead skin. And actually, getting bit by a snake, getting bit by multiple snakes, getting devoured in a pit of snakes would be less painful than watching this. Again, I am sure that Sherry Moon Zombie, and I hate to just throw so much hate towards somebody, but when they're not good and they're not fucking cut out to be on film, then I gotta say something. And she is really, really excruciatingly bad. Now, sure, she was supposed to be hated in House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and movies like that. But name one good performance she had. She seems like she's reading her lines off a cue card. She just is totally in goddamn space. This whole movie was in fucking space. I swear, besides the set design, I think everybody was on copious amounts of drugs just to get through this goddamn thing. This actually reminded me of a pumped up Manos, the Hands of Fate. That's how bad the dialogue was. This was really, really bad. This was badly written. This was badly performed. And even though it seemed like everybody was trying to have fun, fuck, they had Cassandra Peterson, who you might know as Elvira. They wasted Elvira in this, who still looks great at 71 years old. The fact that she's out, she still looks fucking great. And good for her. But Butch Patrick and the Sundance Kid, he was the voice of the Tin Can Man. And then there was Daniel Roebuck, who was the Count, who was, the future Grandpa Munster. Richard Blake, who was recently in Barbarian. Watch Barbarian. Watch the 2011 Conan the Barbarian. You'll have more fun than watching this. It's basically an origin story, again, of Herman and Lily getting together. And then funny stuff about how it came to be and how they got to the beginning of the series. There is not much to the plot. And this thing at 1 hour and 49 minutes, and even before the credits start rolling, you're wondering, when's it going to end? When's it going to end? When's it going to end? Nostalgia will only take you so goddamn far, especially when it's for a series that some people love, but a lot of people were like, wow, really? In 2022, you think this is a good idea? And it's, the tonal shifts are just astonishing. Let's have current humor, despite the fact we're in the 60s. Let's have stuff about, wanting to be included. Let's have some good messages. Let's also have some jokes that don't land at all. And yeah, I know, they're supposed to be corny jokes. Herman also wasn't nearly this dumb. Now, I'm not saying Herman was a fucking rogue scholar, but God fucking, or a rogue scholar for anything. Maybe he didn't study up on rogue. Maybe Anna Paquin should have used her fucking powers to drain the life out of this movie, which might explain why it took fucking forever for it to end. It wouldn't fucking end. I just cannot describe the fucking pain I felt watching this. And every time Sherry Moon Zombie tried to act, I was just like, stop. Just fucking stop. Go with your clothing line. Go do something. Just get off camera. Stop. Don't do this anymore. And Rob Zombie, look, love letter or not, this was certainly not nearly as gory because it was PG. And it was not like the over-the-top gore, ridiculousness, horror aspect stuff of his other movies. So yeah, that's a bit of a shift. And that's not the worst thing in the world. You really shouldn't have heads being ripped off in the Munsters unless you just want to go full on Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which I can't fucking wait for because it looks ridiculous. And by the way, that line was said by the Count, I would say 30 minutes in. And the instant I saw it, I said, well, I know exactly what that intro line is going to be. The special effects are terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm sure that Rob probably funded this himself. I think his studio is 1440. Like, that's 1440 production. And yeah, again, there are little Easter eggs and there are little things thrown in. And I didn't have high expectations for this within the first 5 to 10 minutes, I wanted to shut it off. Because I was just like, wow, this humor is really goddamn bad. But I'm like, you know what? I've been wrong before. I've stuck in movies and I've ended up at least accepting them. And no, this wasn't any fucking good. This was fucking atrocious. This was a fucking abomination. One of the absolute most abysmal movies of the year. This might be at the top. If this gets beat, it's this, Orphan, First Kill, and maybe a couple others. This is really, really bad. Really fucking bad. Now, I know there are some people who like it, and if you like it, that's totally fine. I am going to get into spoilers here for a bit. Not that spoilers fucking matter with this. But yeah, let's just get into spoilers. Let's just talk about this. On Netflix. Maybe Munster fans will like it. Maybe Munster fans will hate it. If you're a fan of Sherry Moon Zombie, then maybe you'll like it. Maybe you can call her up and tell her to start acting better or stop acting altogether. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So Herman gets created by Richard Blake's character and also Jorge Garcia, who was the big guy in, I believe, was it Hawaii, the Hawaii Five-0 revival, that didn't pay their Asian actors properly. That was fucking stupid. Really, really stupid. Fucking bullshit. They were two of the backbones of the show. But they're grave robbers, and they managed to get a body, and then they get a brain that actually turns out to be from not the smart Rathbone, but the stupid one that was telling really, really bad stand-up jokes. But then that brain's put in his body, or in Herman's body, and revived Frankenstein style. It's alive, it's alive. And then he starts telling bad jokes, and then they put him on in the circus. And he performs at the circus. Meanwhile, the Count is being besieged by his son, Lester, who is a wolf. He's hungry like the wolf, and he owes a lot of money to some gypsies and tramps and thieves, and he ends up being tasked with getting the deed signed over for the castle to the main gypsy woman, who is the ex-wife of the Count. Are you following so far? And then Herman and Lily meet. Romance sparks. Lester introduces them, basically, so he feels, hey, I got a little bit of an obligation. Herman, get in with me when, you guys get married. Okay, sign this. And he signs over the deed to the castle without realizing it. They go on holiday or go on honeymoon to France. The grandpa finds out about this, the future Grandpa Munster. Since this is an origin story, no Eddie, and I don't remember who the blonde was that was in this, but no her. He tries to put a spell on them, but that doesn't work because he tries to use the hair of Tarzan, but it's the hair of Cheetah the Chimp. The humor would have probably worked if people just got hit in the head repeatedly with sledgehammers. In fact, that would probably be less painful than watching this. So, anyway, French honeymoon. Grandpa's pissed. Well, the Count's pissed. Now that they're going to be out of the castle, where the hell are they going to go? Herman comes up with a bright idea. Hey, why don't we go to Hollywood? I can use this face and get on Hollywood, because look at this guy. Zombo, he's like, talking about cereal. He's like this weird, disheveled Vincent Price, subspecies looking motherfucker that is talking about cereal and doing endorsements. And they talk to Barbara Carr, played by Elvira, Cassandra Peterson. And she says, hey, by the way, I'm going to look a little weird because I'm going to a Halloween party right afterwards. So she dressed up like the Wicked Witch of the West. They show up, but they're not in costume. That's just how they are. She passes out. They go with her through this, weird time warp thing with this weird animated stuff and this driving. And it's trying to be very, very stylish and everything, except it's not. It's desperate. Please like us. Please like this nostalgia. Because Rob Zombie apparently ate a lot of paint chips when he was a kid, and last week. Especially makes sense with why he keeps putting his untalented wife on camera. So anyway, they find they see the bright neighborhood with a bunch of costume people and think this is how it always is. And they see this house that is perfect. It's at 1313 Mockingbird Lane. We're at Mockingbird Heights. Do you get the reference? Do you get the fucking reference? So they buy the house for cheap. But they're out of money. Mind you, Lester, at this point, had said after he had gotten his cut from the deed for the contract, had gone up to Vegas. Turns out he made a killing there, and he is going to show up a little bit later. But what happens is at this party, they win this cash prize. It isn't going to take them very far, and they win this costume contest. And these 3 judges actually work at the funeral home and say, Herman, you're a big, strong lad. Why don't you help us move bodies? You start tomorrow. Okay. And then he goes out and he sees all these happy, shiny, happy people holding hands. And he's frightened by the mere sight of happiness in humans. And then Lily says, we're going to go out there and we're going to greet those people properly. But then she's frightened. The Count's frightened. And then Lester shows up and he has money. He says, here's your cut. Oh, we're rich. We're rich. They don't have to work. And then that's when the series starts. Watch them try to do another movie. This movie is so badly received, though, I cannot imagine that this movie will be probably getting a sequel. This movie is not well received, to say the least. There are some people that like it. That's fine. I hate it. Top 5 worst of the year, easily. It gets an F. Fuck the fact that Rob Zombie thought this was a good idea. Fuck the fact that he puts his stupid wife on camera when she's so untalented and has no ability and no acting prowess. Nothing. She has no right to be on camera. Just because you're married to somebody doesn't mean you should be on camera. And while I'm sure she's nice, seriously, this was fucking revolting. It gets an F. It might actually be the worst movie of the year. Terrible. Agree, disagree what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.